This is Andrew Wicklund with Project Risk Consultants. We're going over the second step of the Pertmaster, the Primavera Risk Analysis process. So the next thing that we're going to go into is we've looked at the import log. Now we're going to go into the scheduling options and just make sure they're the same as our original scheduling tool. So this can be done via the Plan menu, down to Plan Options, Plan menu, Plan Options, and then the Scheduling tab. So the Scheduling tab is on the far right. Now, you really shouldn't have issues with this because it does pick up. Primavera Risk is going to see the import options from other scheduling tools. So when it imports a Microsoft project file, it knows the settings. When you hit F9 in P6 or Primavera P6, it sees what options you used. So you really shouldn't have any problems with this, but it is good to make sure that nothing came out of line, because sometimes maybe you changed a setting and you hadn't hit F9 again yet and things didn't reschedule. There could be all sorts of issues here. It's good to come in and make sure everything is scheduling as you want it to. So going from top to bottom, using retained logic versus progress overrides. This is an important one. It's best practice to use retained logic. It will do progress overrides. It's going to do exactly as you expect, but you're making a lot of assumptions with the logic as activities are growing in duration and what have you. It's breaking your logic. So it will do it correctly, but retained logic is theoretically a better way to do it, and it really is a best practice. Retained logic should be used. As I mentioned, though, it will do progress override and schedule it exactly as you would expect it to. Calculate the start-to-start lag from the early start or the actual start. The lag calendars. Typically, a lot of scheduling tools use the predecessor's calendar for a lag. So if I do a 5-day lag, it'll be on the predecessor's calendar. So if the predecessor was on a 5-day calendar, it'd be a 5-day lag. If the predecessor was on a 7-day calendar, it'd be a 7-day lag. So some scheduling tools do that differently. That's the reason they have these options in here, is because this tool has to mold around every other tool in the industry. So it should take the options directly from your scheduling tool. Not something that you should have to mess with, but it is important to know this, because when you link two activities that have a different calendar, the lag is going to take one of those two activities links. So sometimes the scheduler doesn't realize that either. So it is important to know on that. Stretching tasks, whether or not the task can stretch, it shows you in the model there what the scenario that would cause a stretch of the task is. So with a finish, if there was a finish predecessor and a start successor, it should actually allow the way that activity is actually being driven by those two activities. So it gives you an option to never stretch the activities during analysis. Logically, the task should be able to stretch if that's the true logic chain. Is the predecessor that's a finish, successor that's a start. It really should be allowed to stretch. However, that's kind of up to the user's preference, but that's what it's going to do during the analysis. Unlinked hammocks, you should link your hammocks. If you have an unlinked hammock, it can span the entire plan or have 0 duration. So if you said project management, I forgot to link a hammock activity or a level of effort activity. Do you want that to span the entire plan? As the plan gets longer, it incurs more cost, or should it zero out the duration? The hammock won't become a driver on the project no matter what you do. However, if it is incurring a cost, that may make a big difference in your cost analysis. And then the critical tasks. The critical tasks, this will matter in terms of not only your deterministic critical paths, so how you see the red bars in the background, but also when you start to run the analysis, how it calculates the criticality charts. So if you're looking at what percentage of a time of simulations something was critical, well, what does critical mean? Is that, anything with 0 days of float? Do you want critical to mean 2 days of float or less? So Sometimes just to see the impact of near critical paths and as they're jumping on and what have you, maybe we'll increase this and look at 2 days of float or less. That's up to the user's preference once again, but it will make a difference not only in the standard calculation, but in some of the risk tornado charts and the criticality charts where you're looking at the percentage of time something that was critical or not. So once again, these settings you really shouldn't have to adjust. It's best practice to always come in here, look at these, make sure the network is going to analyze as you expected it to do.